ahead.
Well, one of the things is, like you say, I mean, I was in China last year, so I didn't get to watch any of the games personally, although I did watch a few of them on the Big Sky TV. But one of the things that last year, the Achilles heel on the team was rebounding. I mean, they were out-rebounded by double digits in most games last year.
Yeah.
They couldn't, but tonight, I think, in the final stats, at one point we were ahead of San Diego State late in the second half.
San Diego.
San Diego, that's right.
Yeah.
San Diego, 22-20. And last year, I don't think we were ever in the rebounding lead against anybody.
Yeah,
And we did that despite the fact playing much of the game with one big guy and 4 guards. But the thing is, what I've noticed is our guards, somebody's taught them how to rebound, position themselves, and be able to get up and get the rebound. Our guards were getting rebounds over their big guys sometimes.
Well, and that's an old Weber State tradition. Like we were talking, who's the greatest rebounding guard in history? And, of course, the great Damian Lillard. He was a rebounding machine. I mean, they'd throw him on that post. He was a beast inside. But Ruben Nemhart, I remember Bagelin used to throw him on the post when they got in trouble. And he reminded me of Shannon Anderson when Shannon Anderson was playing for the Jazz then at the same time. And remember, Sloan would throw him down on the post, and he'd post him up, and he was a rebound scoring machine. And that's the way Damian was. And so I saw flashes of that tonight with these guards like you. I mean, these are some physical guards. They got this freshman, this KJ Cunningham. He's pretty physical. And then, of course, the young Jordan, we saw flashes. And then Harding got back out there, and we saw some old vintage Harding a little bit where, he's amazing when he can go, but he's just coming out of that boot.
Back in the olden days, in the early 80s when I was manager of the basketball team here under McCarthy, we had a kid, he was about 6'3", from California, Greg Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot of people remember him, but I remember him. I thought he was one of the best players on the team that year. He got hurt in the midseason for about 4 or 5 games, and that really hurt us when we went down to Utah and played against Utah. But Jones would shut down the other team's best scoring guard or a small forward, and he would get rebounds. And then when he went out, Pops Larry, who was like about 5'10", took over that off-guard role. And Pops and he wasn't as good as Jones because he didn't have the size.
Yeah, that was the end
of
McCarthy.
Pops was getting rebounds.
Right at the end of McCarthy's career.
Yeah, right at the end. Pops was getting rebounds down
at 5'10". He was a great player.
At 5'10".
He was I forgot about Pops. He was a rebounding machine.
Yeah, Pops and I were good buds.
He was a good player. I forgot about that dude. So, McCarthy, we think of Bruce Collins and Mattos and Smith and Johnson, that great team, and that upset here against Lamar. When they were a 5 or 6 seed. Who? Billy Tubbs, and then, of course, the great Ronna Bagelin. Last time I was in this room right here was a Bagelin's wake. We had Ronna Bagelin's wake right here, and Phil Johnson came in the door right there. We talked, and by the way, so people know, I want to say this too on this vlog. So, Jerry Sloan's wife, Bobby, saved everything. She tragically died of cancer. I have cancer. I have amyloid leukemia, and so Jerry Sloan had a girlfriend and got a girlfriend who I knew that I grew up with from here in Ogden. So Jerry's got dementia now, and this summer I showed up to an auction because I don't have much money anymore, and there she was auctioning off all Bobby Sloan's stuff. So I went to the Jazz. I'm like, what are you going to do? This stuff's showing off. So I had a couple $100, and I got Bobby Sloan. I got the Michael Jordan game, Bobby Sloan's ticket. I got Karl Malone's highest scoring game of his career, Bobby Sloan's. I got as much stuff. I didn't have much money, and these people didn't know what they were buying. I noticed some of it was showing up here and there on eBay, but I asked Phil right here about it. I says, it's outrageous the Utah Jazz doesn't gather up this stuff, whatever, and it's disgusting. She says, yeah, Jerry's, she don't care. I says, well, she was a gold digger from the beginning anyway, and so, Phil Johnson coached here, or Dick Motta coached here, Gene Vischer coached here. Gene Vischer played here, and coached here, these NBA legends. Damian Lillard, and so Randy Ray's been here for 14 years, and, this team, not so good out of the gate the first 2 games, but we got to have some patience with this team, I think.
Oh, you got to have patience with them. And then the thing is I wasn't up at the Utah State game, But I hear that it could have been actually worse than it was.
Oh, I listened to it. It was beyond. Do not kid yourself. It was fugly to no end. Fugly.
But the thing is people remember. I was a little kid at this time, and I remember I was listening to a game where Weber State played Seattle, because that was back then when Seattle was our biggest game.
Yeah, Elgin Baylor played at Seattle, by the way.
So
you ever heard of that dude?
Yeah. So anyway, I was listening to the game at Seattle, and Weber lost by about 40 or 45 something. I mean, at that time, it was the biggest loss in the school's history.
Yeah.
And everybody, was, lamenting that Weber was, crap and everything. Well, that was the year that Weber went 27-3 and got up as high as, I think, about 10th or 12th and somewhere in there in the
that
nation.
was a Willie Soldier or Justin Thigpen team.
Yep. And that was the thing is we had
that's the old Swenson Gym days.
Yeah, we
You're
had
going way back.
We had that was it. It was in Seattle, just like this game was in the
Seattle was a
Logan.
Powerhouse.
Seattle was tough back then. And
so, by the way, I have the program, just so you know, I have it. I'm going to donate it to school. I have the program from that game you're talking about.
Okay.
I have it.
Oh, cool.
In my collection. I have it. And so I know that game. I've been hanging around here, like I said. You and I, Kevin, we've been here since the 60s, the old Swenson Gym, with Mata and the great Willie Soldier, who named Dr. J. Dr. J. A lot of people don't know this story.
That's true.
So they both drafted by the Virginia Squires, the great ABA. They were roommates. By the way, he was the best man at Dr. J's wedding, named him Dr. J. And then, of course, the great Willie Soldier. They've got to bring those two together. They went to the New York Nets and beat the Utah Stars. And then, of course, Willie Soldier became the legend that he was in Italy, which Weber State has an incredible history of European players. They have 13 players right now playing. Bowling Boys playing in Russia. We got Jeremy Sieglin. We got, Damian Lillard's cousin.
Davian Berry.
Yeah,
Davian.
what a player. And Davian. And then Scotty Bamforth. A bunch of players, and they're doing well over there.
Well, Scotty Bamforth was
what a great shooter.
He was on the All-Star, the All-Star League team of the league he was in Spain.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. And then in fact, I believe at one point he was the leading scorer. At least one season was the leading scorer on that team.
I was in Europe, and I was in Vienna, and I looked around, and this was right when the season was starting. And I run into one of the U.S. players. I can see that here's this big – you don't see big, tall African-Americans in the museum in Vienna. I'm like, you got to be playing professional basketball over here. And he, oh, yeah. And I says, well, and then I told him about, oh, yeah. And he says, and he started talking. Well, he had 28 last night. Sieglin, Jeremy. I says, that kid can play, and so this team has a lot of talent. Weber always has a lot of talent. They have a lot of heartbreaking losses. Damian Lillard lost on this floor ahead by 21 points at halftime, or 22, to Montana when that Johnson kid never missed a free throw shot. Yeah, in the Big Sky Championship game, they lost that game.
Yeah, they lost that. That would have given him his NCAA tournament, which he never made. It's really sad that he but that thing is a lot of people say, oh, well, Damian should have won that game. No, Damian didn't have anything to do with that loss. He did everything. What lost in that game, in my opinion, was, Johnson going off was a kind of a fluke.
It was beyond a fluke.
That was a fluke. But people were talking, well, they should have, Buxton won him or something like that.
They did. They tried everything on him.
But the thing is, in my opinion, what lost that ball game was Franklin Sessions. Now, Franklin Sessions was only there for 1 year, and he was, Big Sky Newcomer of the Year and everything, and he was probably the best rebounder we had on that team that year, despite his height. But Franklin Sessions went cold from the free throw line that game. He missed. Yeah. He was like about 0 for 10 or something like that. I don't know what the numbers were, but it was pardon the terminology. Well, I better not say this on air, but he missed a whole...
You say whatever the fuck you want on this one.
Shitload. Okay, you said that. I'll say he missed a whole shitload of free throws. And the thing is I think Tinkle was the coach at Montana at that time, and Tinkle knew that. And so they were fouling Sessions knowing that he would miss the free throws.
Yeah.
And Randy Ray should have taken Franklin Sessions out of that game because he was missing those free throws.
Yeah.
Then Montana still would have outscored him by a whole bunch in the second half, but not by enough to win the game.
Yeah, it was a crazy, flukish, nuttiest thing I ever seen. So, Randy Ray's 14-year tender. They've won the Big Sky, I think, 5 times. How about the heartbreaking loss down there at I was in the Central Coast. I was at Diablo Canyon doing my work there as the anti-nuclear activist, and I watched that game in slow when they were ahead by 7 points with, 48 seconds to go and lost in the Big Sky Championship game. Who'd they lose to that day? Just a couple years ago, and that was a nutty. Oh, the North Dakota team. Well, that was the last year in the Big Sky.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't see the game, but I heard about it.
Yeah, and they were ahead by they were ahead. It was the biggest fluke. So they've had lots of heartbreaking losses on this campus. I call it the Watts curse, by the way. We're here in the D that was built by the nuclear industry. Blah 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 blah. So I always get my tomato soup can because that's who built this was American Can. That's the family. I call this the San Diego Waste Bowl because San Diego, of course, I spent a lot of time, as you know, in San Diego. I'm the activist down there, bringing the waste from this nuclear reactor that I was, paramount on the shutdown to Utah. It's coming to the Energy Solution dump site, as you know. But John Huntsman's our new governor. He will be when he's elected. I know him well. I will never forgive him for giving us Dirty Herbie, who promised me he wouldn't let the waste in. So I've been talking third party. I will talk to John Huntsman soon. I know him personally. And he's an old anti-nuclear. And I don't know how he undoes this, what Dirty Herbie and gang did, let the waste in. But the D, it's called the D. But when Utah Construction merged with G in 1975, that's the money that built this house. And so, so the nuclear bowl. So go Weber State up at Montana, the football team, that legendary turnaround. One last thing. I do not represent KWCR. I never have. They begged me and begged me and begged me. You were with KWCR in the old days. I was too, and way, way back. But they begged me and begged me and begged me to do their work. And I told Manny, they'll just screw you. They're a nightmare. And then they get mad at me. You ask somebody and ask them. It's like, you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend. They keep asking you out. They keep asking you out. They keep asking you out. You really don't want to.
Well,
You're like, no. And then you go out.
When I was with KWCR, that was in the mid-'80s, from about 1985
I was there
through about 1989.
I was there in the late 70s.
Yeah, no, you were there before me. And then
they want to.
So it's different. It's a different management team.
Oh, it's gone. It's a nightmare. It's a disaster.
But but the thing is, it's still, like you say, the guys like you and me, and at that time at KWCR, we were the outcasts.
Yeah,
and
that's what KWCR is supposed to be. It's college radio. John Belushi. We have a big sign. Remember John Belushi, Animal House? He worked for college radio. Remember Ward's College Radio? And now they got these goody two-shoe freaking geeks running around there. They don't know their ass. Manny's bold that he's done all the dirty work, and, nobody gets, it's a disaster. So we're freelancing this, and we're doing, we're helping Randy with the stats. We're doing the stats for Randy Ray. Not the athletic department. Don't even get me going about this place, but I support Randy Ray because of what he does with student athletes. I support Jay Hill big time. I love Jay Hill, what he's done turnaround with student athletes. Randy Ray has an incredible track history of players doing well in life. And that's the type of person he recruits. So it's not all about wins and losses. It's about watching these young men grow. And Randy Ray is the best at growing these. He's a hell of a mentor to these young guys. So I support him 100%. I really like the guy. And so we'll stay at this, Kevin and Kevin. Us old bastards. Us old fucks, and we'll say whatever we want, And KWCR, that's what I say in the name of John Belushi and college radio. We don't need your shit. We support the student athlete. I don't like the NCAA. I don't like anything they do. We're not the Chick-fil-A halftimes. We don't, Dr. Pepper kickoff. We're not the 20-second timeout freaking AT&T phone call. No, we're supportive of the student athlete, and we're supportive of this legendary turnaround that Jay Hill's done, and we support Randy Ray, and we support the student athlete. Stay tuned.